Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve, and in this case, keeping you ahead of the technological, societal evolution curve. Well, we're talking about artificial intelligence today here on the WDW Pro channel, helping us conquer this very complicated issue and discussing something that has major ramifications for all of us is Tim. And Tim is coming on board with us to talk all about AI and the forthcoming potential revolutions across entertainment. Tim has worked with artificial intelligence and continues to work in the area of AI on a significant basis. Tim, welcome aboard to the channel. First time for you.
Thank you.
All right, so Tim, give us just a brief overview of some of the things that you've been working on when it comes to artificial intelligence lately.
Well, I find myself just a consumer of a lot of the areas that this pervades in terms of social media, in terms of Instagram. I spent a couple years in China, and I actually dealt with some filters in terms of WeChat. This is the omnipresent social media application. Basically, everything in terms of your life in China is WeChat. And so, my approach is more just like on a daily basis, and then just watching the spectrum of different technologies emerge, whether it's image-based or text-based, aggregator of information. I just find it all incredibly fascinating, but also just like taking a step back, you're just like, whoa, what's coming down the pike in the next 5 years, honestly.
Well, Tim, let me tell you, one of the things that I find to be, it's exciting in some ways, it's also gives me pause, is so I work for and am an editor for thatparkplace.com. And with the website, I'm watching what's happening right now with the chat artificial intelligence programs that are out there. And I think that those are already at the point that any number of websites could begin using those, and probably already have, to generate content for their websites. And one of the things that's fascinating, I suppose, that I guess we need to prepare for, is that it costs a significant amount of money to pay to have authors, to have editors, to have content creators, but you can very quickly, I think, once you get up and running with artificial intelligence, you can mass produce content that looks as if it is human generated, that for most people would probably pass the Turing test because let's say it's just a 400-word article. And so not only do I think that entertainment is at the cusp of many revolutions in terms of artificial intelligence, but also I think that the coverage and therefore the spin that can happen. I mean, think about it this way. Let's say that some of the theme park websites out there begin mass producing content created by computers, and that they are significantly able to reduce their workforce. And then let's say that the major entertainment companies, as they look to create positive publicity, that they begin implementing artificial intelligence to create vast quantities of positive narrative and media and spin. And even to the point that if you were to turn the text-based responses from artificial intelligence into something driven by a synthetic voice that sounds human on, say, YouTube, you could create a vast quantity of either positive or negative coverage for any entertainment endeavor. Is all of that true, and is all of that present day versus a year from now or 5 years from now?
Yeah, the timeline is really tricky, I think, for even experts to understand completely. I think that what you said about synthetic relationships, that is a huge component of this. I mean, the fact that the Turing test, the fact that most people will not actually even begin to think about how these systems like ChatGPT will process information and generate it. And then you have these emerging personalities in ChatGPT, like Sydney, and there's a bunch of confusion about where that's even coming from. It seems like a lot of these people constructing these systems are doing the best they can, but they are in a race with a lot of other companies. And I do think there's some hazards that are going to arise in many ways. I think that as you see more and more industries become automated away, I mean, really, human beings, we're Americans, but it's going to happen across the world. It's going to look very different in the developing nations. And I think that, like, as these things begin to pick off more and more aspects of our economy, we're going to really negotiate exactly what it means to be human, what it means to have a job, what it means to make an income. Because as more and more of these industries, like we're kind of at the cusp of like automated self-driving vehicles, like semis, and once that really is solid, I mean, Elon Musk is in the middle of that, and he's in the middle of lawsuits and all that. But once that actually makes sense in the next like few years, it's going to be like that whole industry's gone. Like all the truckers are gone in terms of their investment into the infrastructure and all that. And so it's going to be a bewildering process for, I think, a lot of people. And then, there's the problem of from an industrial standpoint or a marketing standpoint, just making sure that all of the information that they're sending out, if they don't know exactly where it's coming from, if they don't know how it's generated, how are they going to have quality control on that? If it's like at a massive scale, once you scale things, you start to lose grip on the things that you've had already. So I think that'll be a significant aspect coming down the pike as well.
Yeah, well, I agree with you that this could be disruptive on many levels. One of the things that is that I'm noticing is that if for a number of people who were very excited about all of this technology that's coming through now, these massive gains in artificial intelligence, I think there was a group of people who thought along the lines of Ray Kurzweil that the ever increasing technology, the ever increasing power of computation, the ever increasing power of software would eventually lead to a place where uh, we had automated the mechanical processes of society, let's say, so welding and manufacturing, et cetera, but that we as humans would then come to a place where we were allowed to be more creative and to flourish with all of the fun things that we want to do, that we would
Mhm.
get to create and build and make and design to our heart's desires, that 3D printing would become this massive revolution. And
Mhm.
what I'm watching now is, so just again, go back to the website that I work for. In a year, let's say, I mean, I don't think we're going to do this, but let's just play hypotheticals. Let's pretend that in a year, we may have to turn over some of our content creation to artificial intelligence because maybe other websites will do that. And if they can quadruple the content production that they can do, and if it's high quality, creating guides to theme parks, et cetera, that's all driven off of these synthetic neural networks,
Mhm.
then how in the world could humans keep up with that? And then I take that and extrapolate it one more time. I was listening very closely to video game designers. I worked in the video game industry for a while, and I was listening to these individuals talk about how, and they were on the graphic side of things, specifically on the 2D artwork side of things. And they were talking about how artificial intelligence is now, with just a few inputs, a few requests, producing art that is on par with what they can produce. And yet it takes them a significant amount of time, and the artificial intelligence was quickly able to pump this out, and it was
Absolutely.
very good artwork that would pass at almost any studio. What do you think about the possibility that we're looking at a new situation where it's not the Luddites anymore, it's the computer nerds who may be out of a job as artificial intelligence takes those positions away?
Yeah, there's two main things there. One is like programming and creating systems in code and whatnot. And what the one conclusion I'm coming to is that it's not going to eliminate coding, but it is going to narrow. It's going to funnel down to the basically we're in a process of survival of the fittest, and the fittest engineers are the ones that will be able to understand the new technology and then use that to become the hyper effective and hyper productive engineers and coders and things like that. So there are going to be a lot of people out of a job, absolutely, and these are jobs that were paying pretty well, and so it's gonna be a massive disruption force, honestly. And then in terms of the art, that is a fascinating thing that we're going through right now. Like when I get on Instagram, I see constantly like hashtag say no to AI art, and I feel for these people, artists specifically, because they're not like usually making a ton of money. They're trying to gain traction on something like Instagram, and they're really just trying to pursue their passion. But then AI comes along down the pike, and basically you can input into Midjourney, you can input like a specific art style. Like today I generated a photo of basically a pond in Monet's style, and it wasn't like perfect, but it was really impressive. And then you can
And so
create
if you
tiny
tweak that a little
variations
bit,
on
you could actually, if you tweak that on the post-production end of that, on the
it. Mhm.
secondary end of it, so
Absolutely.
once it's been created, you could tweak that to be superb, you would say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that
How
it
long
will
would it
change.
have taken a human from scratch to make that piece of art that you created rather quickly?
Mhm. Yeah, it's gonna change what it already is changing what we conceive of art. And art's been this like abstract thing that's been meant different things to all sorts of different people. And like for example, I go to a museum and I look at all this art, but like there's certain types of museums like I cannot get up behind just walking through galleries of portraits. I'd rather like go through other types of art, more modern or whatever. Everyone has the different perception of what art is, and I just think we're in a period where like all bets are off in terms of what it'll mean in the future.
Well, and it's going to be affected, what it means if there are synthetic artificial intelligence algorithms out there that are writing the reviews of it and influencing what people think as well, right? I
Indeed.
mean, this goes down a significant digital rabbit hole.
Mm, yeah.
All right, Tim. So we're paying attention to entertainment specifically. I want to pull up
Mm,
this article from the LA Times, and we'll read this together. This by Brian Contreras. It's called "Is AI the Future of Hollywood?" Well, if we're listening to Tim right now, it sounds like it's the future of many things. How the hype squares with reality. For every problem you can think of, someone is out there pitching a solution that involves artificial intelligence. AI could help solve such intractable problems as climate change and dangerous work conditions. The technology's most eager boosters promise. Well, those don't sound quite as intriguing to me as the things we've already been discussing. Those sound much more revolutionary. But let's continue on. It could even fix the much maligned Game of Thrones finale. Okay, now we're talking about what I'm thinking. If you believe one of the industry's most powerful proponents and a featured speaker at this month's South by Southwest conference. Imagine if you could ask your artificial intelligence to make a new ending that goes a different way. Uh, Opponents of the sequel trilogy would say, yes, please, said Greg Brockman, president and co founder of OpenAI, the research group behind the conversation software ChatGPT and the image generation module DALL-E. Maybe even put yourself in there as a main character or something, having interactive experiences. Rewriting an HBO show so that your digital likeness can slay dragons might seem a little frivolous for a technology as hyped up as artificial intelligence. Let me stop there. I don't think that it's at all frivolous when you think about the converging technologies and you think about virtual reality, go beyond what we have right now with the Oculus, and let's say 10 years in the future when virtual reality and augmented reality become more ubiquitous in our modern day lives, right? If you can put on just a pair of normal looking sunglasses and enter into a virtual world, then you combine it with what we're talking about here. You can see how it's a major deal, in my opinion. But it's an
mhm.
application that's getting a lot of attention, including at South by Southwest, the annual Tech and Culture Expo that overran Austin, Texas this last week with film nerds, celebrities, and venture capitalists. Throughout the conference, attendees imagined what chatbots, deepfakes, and content generating software will mean for creative industries. At a live podcast taping titled Generative AI, Oh God, What Now? Two technologists pondered how many creativity driven jobs will get taken over by machines. In a Shark Tank esque pitch session, entrepreneurs proposed new ways to integrate AI into entertainment, such as splitting audio stems or visualizing film scripts automatically. A SoundCloud executive told another audience that people who categorically reject AI generated music sound a bit like the synthesizer haters of electronic music's early days. Tim, let's pause here. I think the tip of the iceberg with this is that we've already begun seeing that even if a celebrity has passed away, they can still be brought back and put into movies. But we've really mostly seen that done using human efforts of CGI. That's
Mhm.
had mixed results at best, but now we're beginning to see, and we'll begin to see this even more with the next Indiana Jones film. We're beginning to
Yep.
see artificial intelligence, deepfake technology come through to change that paradigm. I'm just curious, how long do you think it is until actors are not who we go to see on movies, but rather we go to see perhaps Aubrey Hepburn back again, or any number of celebrities who have long since gone on, resurrected digitally?
Hmm. Yeah, that is a fascinating question. I mean, the Harrison Ford thing. When I saw the side by side, it was so striking to me. I was like, "Well, we are here now." The time frame. I mean, I don't think it'll be that far into the future, because basically, I keep hearing more and more of these deepfake audio, and they're getting pretty, like, they don't have. There's like a je ne sais quoi, a certain cadence that humans have that the AI hasn't been able to capture yet. But it's pretty good. Like, you can fool, I'm sure, a lot of people. And there's been more and more of those audio that ones that have come out. And then there's of course the visual ones that are, some of them are like phenomenal. And like the Star Wars is a great example, or Harrison Ford in general. But I think the point at which everything will change and we will actually start to be quite confused in a lot of ways. Talk about like court cases, like the evidence being entered in, and like the jury and the judge being like, I have no idea. And then they get these experts to like, to tell you how the mechanics work. And everyone's like, I have no idea, even after the experts told me stuff. So it's really going to be confusing time. But I think once the audio and visual merge together, it'll be, yeah, we'll start having the scripts being written by GPT. We'll start having the deepfakes. Basically, the one thing about this is I do wonder, and this is total guess, but I do wonder like how long it will take for AI to like really capture all the nuances of human interaction, because I do feel like we might be further away from that. And there's something that comes through when you watch Nicolas Cage just shout and be crazy, that you're not gonna probably get from an AI right away. We may get there someday, but I don't think, even if in the next few years or the next year, even like we get some breakthrough moment where we can like generate stuff of like Trump or Biden or whoever, politicians doing this and that, and you're like, oh, I don't know what to believe. That's possible, but I feel like that would have to be relegated to very short snippets. A whole like movie and like a whole, like, I don't know how much you're going to be able to emotionally connect to a completely synthetic AI persona just as easily. But we see the gap narrowing with I think it was that one movie Alita, and just other things that like Avatar, where like half the things like it's half CGI, but like basically they're creating these entire characters that are not really a person as you see them. So that's changing pretty quickly.
So, Tim, one of the things that comes to my mind is that from my time working in 3D animation, you have these markers, you have these keyframes that you use where you go from one position to the next, and then the computer fills in the gaps. And I wonder with artificial intelligence if that may be where we're headed in the short term. Is that you're right? It may miss some of those idiosyncrasies and those unique features of humanity, but then that's where the human comes in, the human artist comes in and fills that in, and
Mhm.
everything else is just generated digitally through this artificial intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it really matters for court cases. If they're generating new stuff and new technology with the applications they're using, it begs the question: if this was generated yesterday when you were creating a file, how does a jury supposed to view that evidence? It's just going to be very hard to hard code that into the legal system, I think.
One of the areas of entertainment that I think could fall first in terms of creatives having to find a new job as this artificial intelligence revolution takes over is in traditional animation, which is largely dead right now.
Hmm.
But if artificial intelligence is able to easily produce art, and we know that in traditional animation, every single frame is not the highest quality art clearly that you could produce. Otherwise, it would take you years and years and years and a lifetime to produce a single 10-minute short. But
Hmm.
rather, you do what you are capable of doing, and then that's then played through 60 frames or what have you. per second, and then that creates a cartoon, whether that be a feature-length animation film or whether that be a cartoon short. But
Hmm.
it seems to me that if artificial intelligence can already easily create a single frame, that being a single piece of artwork, that there's really very little impediment to artificial intelligence creating traditional animation very quickly at a quality that humans cannot produce.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that I think you made the point earlier that basically at every level of conceivable, the writing, the plot development, the actual voice acting, all of this will eventually be entirely generated by code and by people who are like a few specific people that are setting the parameters of what they envision, you know. But besides that, it begs the question: are all these industries going to do in terms of the actors, in terms of the designers? It's going to be quite a earthquake for humanity. I think and it's going to get pretty weird.
Absolutely. And, for those who are out there naysaying right now, those who are saying, oh, come on, Pro, who is this guy you've got on with you, this Tim? You guys are out in left field. Well, just consider what people 30 years ago would have thought if you'd said, hey, nothing that will be done, in the 2020s will be analog. Everything will take place in a computer. And they would have said, oh, give me a break. You're still going to have, this and this and this and this. And it's like, no, no, really, you don't. I mean, sometimes we do, but not. We don't have to. We can. It can almost all be completely done digitally now.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at one more article that I think is prescient to what we're discussing. Move us over there. Okay, and this from the New York Post. If we can get rid of these ads, gotta love those artificial intelligence ads, picking what we want to read. This by Jack Evans. This art competition was a major win for humans over artificial intelligence. A recent competition is sought to determine who is superior in the realm of man or machine. And for now, at least, it's good news for humans. Announcing a winner on Friday, the competition invited both photographers and artificial intelligence creators to submit their best works with a prize of $1,000 at stake, run by electronics retailer DigiDirect. An expert panel of photographers would then judge the submissions without any knowledge of whether they were created by humans or machines. The competition was created after Sydney-based AI art studio Absolutely AI made headlines by winning DigiDirect's weekly photography competition earlier in February. It was for that reason the company decided to launch the Showdown competition. You can see some of this artwork here. I don't know if that's by a human or if that's by, well, here it says that is actually computer generated, that piece of imagery there. The Absolutely AI team had been on a mission to prove that AI technology was at a turning point and machines could now create images that not only slip by unnoticed, but also win prizes in photography. It goes on, and it tells that for now, humans were able to win the competition, this art competition. However, Tim, I am reminded of the days decades ago when we debated whether a computer could ever beat a human in chess. And now there is very little doubt that the highest level chess program it will just beat any human you put up against it. And I wonder how long until computers will dominate humans in terms of artwork and
Mhm.
poetry and music and any other place that computers will simply be superior. What do you think on that?
You know, I think the Deep Blue is, I believe, the chess, and then I can't remember the name,
Correct.
but the one that beat the world leader in Go. That was
Go.
a seminal moment where like there was this one moment where like thousands, if not millions, of like Koreans and Chinese people were watching this simultaneously, and then the AI made one move that was like unprecedented. It like broke the rules that everyone abided by in Go, and they were just like, "This is pure creativity." There's literally nothing, no way to describe it otherwise. Really is fascinating. Like just trying to conceptualize what could that be? What could creativity in an artificial intelligence come from? Where is that coming from? But yeah, I think if anyone really wants to delve into this, my suggestion right off the bat would be just go to the Midjourney's website, and then basically just go to the gallery and just take a look at some of the top generated content. It'll give you the content. You hover over it, and it actually gives you the prompt, and you can see exactly how the person generated it with the text. But the thing is, like, you could type that same text in, and you get a completely different style, completely different render, because it's all spontaneous. It's just bewildering and astounding to me how beautiful some of these artwork are, and they're all over. Some are more stylistic, some are more realistic, some of them have really high tones, bright colors, some are like really dark and like macabre, and like it's just like, it is truly humbling. And Dali as well. I think Dali, my impression is that basically it's much more, the idea is it's much more stable. And like, I also just, growing up, you go into like Sunday church every week. The pastor would like make to go along with the sermon, he basically have like a PowerPoint, and then I was like, all those stock photos, the whole industry, all that stuff's out the window. There's no more stock photos at all. Like,
Right. You can generate the stock. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And so so in terms of evaluating artwork, in terms of like this article you're talking about, I've always had the personal opinion that putting rankings on artwork in terms of not just like visual art in a gallery, but also like the Oscars, Emmys, Grammys, I always just have felt like that's like a futile and kind of silly thing to do. Like, I get the idea of recognizing all of the best that a society or these group of artists have produced in that year. But to try and like literally say this one's better than that one, I think it's a non-starter for me, really. I tend to think that it's the nature of art is that it is inherently subjective, and therefore if you're trying to do that, I mean, you can, but we'll see how that goes in the future.
Well, all of this, I think, is going to lead us very soon to having serious conversations about what is consciousness, what is the mind, what is qualia, and what separates those of us who have brains, who have neocortexes, from these digital computers. And so we're going to have very serious conversations about that. And what does our world look like in the future? Remember that technology, every time we invent something new, it can be used for great goods and great evils. That was true with fire, which was used to cook food and keep you warm. And it was also true when people burned down villages. It's a powerful thing in both directions. I have a feeling that this will stay consistent with all of these artificial intelligence developments. For now, though, we're just looking at entertainment, the revolutions that are coming forth that will forever change how we consume media. Tim, any final thoughts in that area before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, if people want to think more about like the social media and the influences into our brains, I really think that almost everyone should just check out the Social Dilemma on Netflix. It's created by guys at the Humane Center for Technology, I think it's called, and just like really trying to figure out like what can we do collectively to really help ourselves deal with the changing environment in a healthy manner, and not just this race to the bottom of the brainstem and just like not being in touch with what's actually around us going into our head in terms of the algorithms that we're fed on a daily basis, and just all of the decisions that were made for us that we really have no say in, and often we have no idea that they're impacting us in such radical ways. So definitely would check out the Social Dilemma, probably the most valuable thing I've ever watched on Netflix.
Excellent tip. Tim, it's been a fantastic conversation. I hope the audience has enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed discussing all of this. I find it fascinating. And I just think that there are so many more conversations that need to happen in this sphere as people begin to wake up slowly to just how vast the changes are ahead of us, and we need to be very careful in the directions we go. Folks, if you enjoy content like this, perhaps consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, and that notification bell. It's fun to click it and stick it to those algorithms we've been talking about today. We just did the Pro Show for the very first time, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't get to see it, make sure you check it out before it goes away. Those live shows only stick around for so long before they get clipped by the one Jonas J. Campbell and sent back out onto the internet as much shorter format videos. So go check that out as soon as possible. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.